fishing. People, when you're in the mood, let's go fishing. Well, it's just me and you. Head on down to the fishing hole. Grab your hat, get your pole. Let's go fishing when you're in the mood.
Canadian Sport Fishing, brought to you in part by Ford Trucks, built Ford tough. Lucky Strike, producers of quality fishing tackle and landing nets since 1929. Rapala, premium fishing gear crafted from experience. Canadian Power and Sail Squadrons, volunteers teaching safe boating.
Let's go fishing whenever you're in the mood. Let's go fishing. Baby, it's just me and you. Head on down to the fishing hole. You wanna grab your hat, man, and get your pole. Let's go fishing when you're in the mood.
This is a 4-inch auger, and it's a Swiss bore. It's sold by Normark, and you can use it for pan fishing, but what we're going to do this morning, this is going to be our sonar hole. So we're going to do a 4-inch hole. And is this okay, Drew, if you fish just close to me?
Yeah,
I can
that's
almost
fine.
grab you if you get a big fish on.
Well, there's lots of them around, so there won't be any competition.
Okay. And what I'm going to do next is take a 6-inch. Some of them are 5 or 6-inch. We don't really have a big hole auger like 8 or 10-inch because we don't need it. And I'm going to make it pretty close to that first hole, maybe about 3 inches away. And I'm going to try to go down straight. The ice is about 5 to 6 inches thick, so it's plenty safe, but it's not really thick like later on in the winter. You know the ice is thick when you cut right down to where that bend is. Notice on this sonar, the Vexilar that I like to use, that I'm not marking anything right now. I'll explain to you what depth of water we're in. This is the surface of the water. It's at 0. I have the Vexilar on, and it's in between 5 and 6 feet deep. I'm on the first scale. You can see here, I'll show you how it turns on. This is the power knob, and this is the sensitivity knob. So in the power knob, I have 4 settings here. I can go to the outside scale or the inside that goes right to 120 and even deeper. So I'll put it to S1, which is the outside. So 0, and it's about 5.5 feet. This is a kind of a soft bottom. Some of you are wondering, well, why do you have all these colors underneath? That's because the sound wave is being absorbed into the mud, but there's no weeds. If I see a mark here, it's probably a fish. So just keep your eye on that screen and watch me drop this little jig down. You're going to see it drop in a moment here. There's my jig. You can see it. I'm going to turn my gain up, and we're going to see if there's any fish here. So there's my jig moving up and down, and hopefully I'll attract some of these big bluegills. Bluegill are a sunfish. A lot of people think they're one. Oh, there's a fish. Now watch, I'm going to try to raise them up off the bottom. You see this little orange or red band? That's a fish, and he's right on bottom. I'm going to see if I can get him to come up. Maybe I'll drop my jig down to the bottom, and come on, little fish, come and play. Yeah, I don't think they figured out I've got a bait for him down here. But because of the colder temperatures, they might be a little bit less active. Good hook set.
Little guy.
Oh, he fell off.
It makes it easy.
Now why don't you explain to the viewers what the difference is between a bluegill and a sunfish? So just so they can see, and hold it up so they can see the nice colors of it.
Okay, this is a bluegill. As you can see, compared to a pumpkin seed, will have a real bright orange belly to it. Oops. He wants to go back. Too cold out here for him. But the pumpkin seeds will have a real bright orange belly. They'll have more of a bluish finish along the top of the back. And then again with the bluegills, they have that little dark ear here, and they have more of a bar going down the sides with them. But other than that, they both taste good.
There we go. So these small jigs, they're called Gens bugs or fat boys. And the reason they're called Gens bugs is because, or Gens worms, Dave Gens, who's a very accomplished ice fisherman, and I've had the pleasure of fishing with in the States, designed the jigs for catching panfish. So I'm going to take my time here and watch this guy go around the hole. You can see why I've moved the transducer into the other hole. Oh, I guess I won't be able, oh, I'll show you the jig anyway. So see the way this jig is hanging? It's kind of spinning around, but it's sitting horizontally. so that when a crappie or a sunfish or a bluegill comes up to it, when he goes to grab it, that hook is going to go in his mouth. I'm not going to hook myself. So, and also you can see it's small, and when you put the grub on the hook, the actual lead, let me take my rubberized glove, the actual lead looks like an extension of the worm. So even though I've got my glove on there, see when that's together, it actually looks like a long worm, and they grab the back of it. Now that line is very thin, it's 2-pound test. And you want to use very light line, because the lighter the line, the more sensitive the jig is. So watch if I put this jig in the water here, just in the top of the hole, you can see if I just move the line, see how it shakes, and if I drop it up and down, it swims, just like that. And even if I hold it motionless, it's kind of spinning, it's tantalizing. And because that waxworm is a little bit ripped apart, you can see it kind of looks lifelike there. So that's the action that these little panfish love. So they go up to it and grab it.
And this yellow, like massive sized perch appeared on the surface. So I was stunned by its enormous size. And then a few more people stood by the fish, and we were amazed by the size of the perch. So I knew this was a rare catch, and definitely one for the wall. For me, this was a dream come true. So that's all I can say. What do you think?
I think that's fantastic. You made a perch sound like a huge whale.
Well, I mean, it was because, like, like here you're fishing for a perch. You're expecting to see something between 6 to 8 inches. Oh, like, I'm not kidding. Our rod was bending like right down, and this thing was going here and going there. I'm thinking I got a good smallmouth bass, right?
It's amazing you survived.
Oh, I was actually stunned. I was really stunned by its size, Like, I thought, my God, I said, can be a perch, Like, look at the size of this thing. All these people looking at this perch, I said, what the heck is this?
That's excellent.
It was big.
When it comes to safe boating, you should know all of the rules when you're on the water, but you should also know what to do when you're off the water, especially when it comes to winter storage of an outboard. For example, this is a 140 horsepower 4-stroke, and what we're going to do before we put it in storage is we're going to drain the lower unit and take out the oil and replace it with fresh oil. That's going to ensure that if there's any water in there, it's going to be removed. Now, why would you want to get the water out? If there's water left in the lower unit and the engine freezes over the winter time, it can crack the actual housing. And that can be a real problem, because then when you use the outboard the following year, you may not have lubricant in it, and then you can have a breakdown on the water. Now, that's one of many tips that you can find if you go to the Canadian Power and Sail Squadrons. And you can contact them directly, or you can go to our website, which is canadian-sportfishing.com, and you can also connect through to them. That way you'll get all of the proper rules that you need to practice on the water and tips like this, and that'll make you a safe boater. Oh, just missed one. You got one?
Yeah, got one.
Is it a hog? Look at that rod go. I love the action on that rod. You know what? I'm going to get one from this. Hey,
nice,
that's the biggest one so far. I'm going to come over there to have a look at it. Beautiful colors. Let's just hold them now. Look at, I was just telling them how different the colors are. That guy is fat. Let's just look at his belly. You can see how thick he is. See what I mean about the brown? It's almost like you get into an olive green brown color, and those stripes aren't that prominent going down. And this is a nice healthy fish. You can see that nice flap right there. Let's see if I can lip them here. When they get, they're a good keeper size. You're going to keep a couple for eating, right?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Come on. When you can lip, how's that? A hog. I'll tell you, once Canadians get onto these things, they're plentiful. They're at the lower part of the food chain. So I'm going to put them right here for you.
Yep.
There. And they taste so good. And man, are they a blast? How come there aren't more people here? Drew?
Most people in southern Canada don't normally target bluegill through the ice. The main reason is probably that in many lakes they're pretty small, and they're tough to locate in high numbers. Bluegill spend much of their time, both in the summer and winter months, in shallower water, less than 10 feet deep. Drew and Italo found a healthy population of bluegill in 5 to 7 feet of water. They used a Normark auger to cut several holes. To locate their fish and catch them efficiently, they also used the popular Vexilar FL8 SLT flasher, which they set up in a separate hole right next to theirs.
You know what? I think they're getting bigger. Oh, he's going by the hole. Another keeper. Yeah, it's interesting how some have more stripes than others.
Yeah.
This guy's got nice bars. He's a little darker. I know on Sunday I saw some. Well, your daughter got one that was almost black.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, really dark. Maybe it's where they come from. Depth of water or mud bottom. I think I'm going to need another grub on there in a moment. There's another keeper. That's 3. Look at 3 whoppers there. Now, I was talking just a couple seconds ago, and I'm going to put my jig in the water so it doesn't freeze, but not down, about walking on slippery ice. You see right here where this clear ice is? If the whole lake is like that, it can be so treacherous when you walk, especially if you have a thaw where you get a little bit of water on top. It's like cellophane. So most boots have treads on them, and I'm wearing really good boots. These are Baffin boots, and they're made, I think, in southern Ontario. They're rated for temperatures of -100 Fahrenheit. And I know that several different companies make boots like this. They have a lot of air pockets, but what I've done here, I've gone to my local store and I bought hex screws. This was a tip that was given to me by Bill Selby, who's a real steelheader, and I've known him for about 25 years. And what I've done is, these things are 10 cents each. I got 1/4-inch hex screws, and Bill said, he showed me the bottom of his boots, and he had about 15 on each one. I think I've got about 10 or 11 on here. And I put them in the high contact area, so the heel area, where we put weight when we step down, and then when we go to lift our foot in this area here. So I didn't really put any up here.
Set the hook. I fought it for about 5 minutes, and I brought it in on land. And I went and I showed my dad, because right in the middle of the stream there's an island that split it. And he was on the other side, and I went and showed him, and he was all surprised, and took pictures, and that's pretty much it.
Because of using different rods for different little jigs and light line and so on, it's kind of hard. What do you do with these really sensitive light rods? I'm going to move out of here and I'm going to show you. Look at this. I showed people about a couple years ago this system that I made, and they wanted to know if I had plans for it. Look at this. I'm just going to pop this out because I've got it shoved in there pretty good. How do you like this for a rod rack? All I've done here is taken golf tubes that are like worth $1 each. I've cut one end and I made a slot if I want to put the reels in further. I've taken a piece of PVC piping. You can see here, for those of you that are plumbers, maybe you know what that is. Inch, 1.5 inches. I've put caps on top. It's 1.25 inches. Look at that. 1.25 inches was close. Caps on top. And I took a little hacksaw, I took a drill, and I cut these slots. They don't have to be round. I shoved the tube through. And then what I did, if you look here, I've got elbows. They're 90 degrees elbows that I've kind of ripped apart and customized. And you can see here, all I have to do is take the elastic off and I can pull the rod out. It's protected. But see, if I put it into these 90-degree elbows, I just push that in there and it stays in there nicely. So whenever I want to change rods, I've got it with me right there. So you can see the one tube's empty. That's the rod that I'm using. Really smart if you're serious about your ice fishing. And I also customized this trap by buying one of these seats. You can go to Walmart. They sell these. This is plastic. Folds down. The whole bench slides back and forth. And it swivels. It's really smart for your back. And I've got a couple of trays in here, so I can put my fish in here when I'm done. I'm not going to get the vehicle smelly. And I've got a fish pulling my rod in the water. How do you like that technique? And it's a keeper.
Ah, mine's bigger than yours.
Oh, you got a nice one.
Got a big one.
Well, this is kind of funny. We're telling them how difficult these fish are to catch. Let's compare. Let's do a... Let me see if I can get the hook out here without ripping it apart. That is a whopper. Look at this. Yeah, I'm going to let mine go. I feel really bad now. Okay, let's see if you can... Let me just to show them here. Thank you for letting me hold your fish.
No problem.
Now that is a nice bluegill. The one right here, not this one. This is a little guy. So we're going to let this little guy go. He must have fought hard. So I'm going to toss it to you. You ready?
Yep.
Flying bluegill. You know, if you want to catch the right fish, you got to have the right bait. Look at these beauties. You're probably saying, where can I get those maggots? These are prime maggots, and I think they're from blowflies. I'm here in Tall Tail Bait and Tackle, and I've got Pat Kirby, who's the owner. Pat, how many of these will you sell a season?
Italo, I go through about 300,000
Wow.
during the season.
And are these grown here in Ontario?
No, they're from Alberta.
Oh, okay. So they're special maggots. Are they blowfly? Do we know what species?
Blue bottle flies.
Blue bottle flies. Now, this looks like a nice hors d'oeuvre tray. These are our waxworm selection for the day. Now, look at the size. This is a whopper waxworm here. If I can get them out, there's a couple of them here. These are great bait. Now, when did you start selling the waxworms?
Started about 4 years ago when I first opened the store. I felt that that was something that was lacking in the ice fishing and fishing in general business. So we decided to bring in the critter bait, and it's gone very, very well for us.
I don't know of any other place that sells the variety you have. Now, let me show you the jigs that you need to use if you want to catch lots of panfish, especially bluegill, crappie, big perch. To fish those grubs properly, you should have a jig that has a horizontal presentation. And this is what I was talking about on the ice. These are called the Gensworm. And you can see that when you put the line through the eyelet, the hook sits horizontally. Now, these are called the Gensworm. This one is called a Fat Boy. And you can see it's more of a flat configuration. But both of them are designed to sit horizontally on the line. Now, Pat has a great selection of all the accessories you need. If you look over here, he's got special jigs that I haven't seen anywhere in Canada. These are called marmushka. And I think they're made in Poland, but they're very common in Poland, in Sweden, in Finland. And this is what the guys use when they got to use a very subtle presentation. And they'll take the smallest marmushka right here and put one maggot on it. And they'll fish it very slowly when fish are inactive, and they'll get those fish to hit. And you can see that these also sit horizontally. Now, he's got marmushkas here in different sizes and all different colors, and a lot of other specialty items. Now, this is what you need if you want to catch panfish through the ice efficiently. Now, you also have a good selection of bait fish, right?
We're proud of that, Italo.
Okay, so tell me which ones you have, what size. What are these?
These are all emerald shiners. This is what is known as a pinhead shiner.
Right.
Okay, they're small, ideal for perch, crappie, and the other panfish. Down here, we go and have a larger bait for northern pike. Some of the walleye guys like to use something a little bit more
There's common
substantial.
shiners in there, chub, beautiful sucker minnows. Now, if people want to get a hold of you, if they want to catch panfish and they can't get the right bait, it's very hard to catch the panfish if you don't have the right bait, how can they get a hold of you?
Well, our website is www.talltales.on.ca.
And if they're traveling on the 401, Cambridge, Ontario?
Highway number 8, easy on, easy off the 401.
Good, and I'm sure if they go to your website, they can communicate with you. They can send you an email.
There's map there, there's email.
Do you tell people where the fish are, like you tell me, or not?
I try and tell everybody where the fish are, Italo.
You told me I was special.
You are special.
Oh, okay.
But I tell them where to go else places.
Okay, thank you. You know what? I'm going to buy all those jigs I've got over here.
Canadian Sport Fishing has been brought to you in part by Ford Trucks, built Ford tough. Lucky Strike, producers of quality fishing tackle and landing nets since 1929. Rapala, premium fishing gear, crafted from experience. Canadian Power and Sail Squadrons, volunteers teaching safe boating.